G'day, it's Todd from the Tentworld store up here in Tentworld. So I get asked quite a few questions around here about binoculars and so how to distinguish between the different types. So I thought I'd throw together a bit of an overview for you and take you through some of the features and things you want to consider when buying a pair of binoculars. So the first thing most people get drawn to are the numbers here on the binoculars, and typically you'll have a small number followed by a larger number. So what that smaller number indicates is the magnification of the binoculars. So on this guy here, we got a 10 times magnification. And what the bigger number usually refers to is your objective lens. And what the objective lens does, it allows the binoculars to capture light. So the larger the objective lens, the more light you can capture and the brighter the image you'll get. Next is to consider the type of prisms in the binoculars. So what prisms are is they're a reflective coating on the glass which kind of acts like a mirror. And you can get them housed in two different types of framing. So you go with something like a poro prism, which has a zigzag design like this from the front lens to your eyepiece, or you can go with a roof prism which has a straight barrel design like that. The difference between the two is your roof prisms here tend to require sort of greater optical sort of tuning in their construction. So it's just a higher degree of optical precision they need. So as a result, they tend to be more expensive in their construction. So I find a good rule of thumb is if you're buying a cheap pair of binoculars or you want to buy just a nice solid budget pair, go for a nice simple poro prism design. Otherwise, on the higher end of the binoculars, you'll find there won't be much difference between the two and you'll be right with either set. Most people tend to like to head towards the roof design because they just make for a more sort of compact, light and easy to hold and use binocular. Next is the type of prism glass. So you can get something called a BAK4 or a BK7. Generally, you want to aim for a BAK4, as those prisms are sort of high quality glass, and as a result, they tend to produce a sort of a sharper image, and they have a nice sort of perfectly circular exit pupil, whereas the BK7s, they tend to have a blurred edge on their exit pupil. Eye relief is the next big thing for most people. And what that refers to is how far away from your eye you can hold the binoculars and still hold image clarity. I find a good rule of thumb, especially if you're someone who or someone who wears glasses, I should say. You want to aim for about 16 millimeters in eye relief. That way it just gives you enough room to sort of keep your glasses on and use your binoculars comfortably. So if you want to take them to sports events or concert, it's a good thing to go for a nice little compact pair like this guy. You can throw them in your bag, handbag, pocket, anything like that. They're easy to carry, lightweight, easy to use, so they have a good benefit for that. General use, you can get away with pretty much anything within the sort of 7x35mm range or the 10x50. They'll all work pretty well, depending on sort of the objective lens and size you want to go. Anything around that should be right. If you're someone who likes to use them for boating, I find just getting a nice and waterproof pair, good solid wide objective lenses, nice glass coating, so like the BAK4s. So anything like these little bushel H2O guys will work well, and even the Celestron Outland series here will work well for that. If you want to use them for some hobby astronomy, I find you definitely want to go with something with a good objective lens and some good glass coatings because you're working in a low light environment, so you want to capture as much of that light as possible. So I find a real good pair of something like these Celestrons 10x42s will work really well for that. Some people like to go for a bigger pair, so something like these 10x60s, and you can even go larger than that. Be careful when you start moving to these bigger pairs because then you start getting issues with being a bit too big and heavy to actually hold and comfortably look through, and you might need to then look at getting a tripod as well. Alright, there you have it guys. So it's a bit of an overview of some of the things you want to consider when buying a pair of binoculars and have some of the range we have here in store. If you have any questions or you want to know the full product range we have here in store, pop down to your local Tentworld store or head online to tentworld.com.au. We'd be happy to help. Thanks for that. Have a good one. See you later.